What's up, guys? We got another fantastic story time. Let me just state kind of where I'm at. You know, Kate and I got a 5-hour road trip back from New Berlin, basically Milwaukee, and I really didn't have a lot of time to film. A lot of the stuff that I filmed this week, wasn't super interesting, so I kind of came up with this idea a while ago that I wanted to talk about. But anyway, the topic of the video is how a childhood game that I created went wrong, or how I got shot on my 14th birthday. One of those two. We'll probably hit one of those, and yeah, I won't have a lot of time to edit it, so you're gonna get a complete unedited, unfiltered story time. But anyway, here's how it's gonna start. I think it was 14 or 15. But anyway, I was having a little birthday party, and I wanted everyone to participate in this childhood game that I had came up with some of my neighborhood friends. So we're gonna talk about what the childhood game is. It is called bike tag, bicycle tag. Now you may be thinking to yourself, oh, it's just tag on bikes. No, it is a lot more than that. You know, how do you tag someone on a bike? How do you have to get so close to them that you touch them? No. So here I'm gonna lay the ground rules of bike tag. So there's obviously, you've played it, right? Someone's it. If you're it, you want to touch someone else, and then they're it. So same sort of principle, except how we did it was we're on bikes, and instead of using your hand, you had a pool noodle, right? You have a little extension. So it's kind of like the modern day, what is it, like in the medieval times when they had that stick? What is that called?
Jousting.
Jousting. It's like medieval jousting. So a lot of the kids in my neighborhood came up with this, and we do it around our neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, yeah, it was bike tag. It's with a pool noodle, okay? So yeah, I remember my mom sent out an invite to all my friends or whatever, and on the invite it said specifically you have to bring your bike, right? So I remember waiting very excitedly that I was going to get a bunch of my friends together to play bike tag, and one by one, you know, parents are driving their kids and they're unloading their bike, and I'm just getting so excited. I'm helping them pump up their tires and whatnot, and yeah, we ended up getting about 8 guys, I believe, and we're ready to play bike tag. So let me set the scene. So I grew up in a suburb of Minnesota, but in the city that I lived in, it had everything. I mean, we sort of lived on the Mississippi River, so we have an element of like woods. There's a playground with a baseball diamond, a basketball hoop, tennis court, playground. So we got that sort of like playground set up. There's townhouses and houses. And then there's also sort of like an inner city feel where we have, you know, different shops, whether it be like a gas station, a pawn shop, or a hotel. So I think I started out it. So I'm going and I'm driving in my neighborhood, or I'm biking in my neighborhood, and I end up getting someone out, or not getting someone out, but tagging someone and then booking it away. And, you know, a lot of my friends who had came to this party, they weren't really familiar with the neighborhood. So a lot of them would either stick to my brother and I, because we knew the neighborhood pretty well. So I remember being with a group, and I'm like, dude, we got to go to the pawn shop, hide in the pawn shop. So another like unspoken rule of bike tag was, it's not just in a cul-de-sac, it's not just in the neighborhood, but it kind of extends, you know, pretty far out. I would say a couple miles. I mean, how far would you think, Kate?
We didn't formally set boundaries at the beginning, but it was kind of an unspoken rule from the gas station all the way over to the hotel was the general boundary. So it was at least 1.5 miles, probably 2 miles. Yeah,
probably. So it was a pretty far distance. And one of the other unspoken rules was, if you go into a vicinity or a venue, you have to leave your bike outside, so the person who's it can spot it and be like, oh, they're in there, let me go get them. So me and another friend were in a pawn shop, and we're kind of fake shopping, right? We're hiding out. You know, the best hiding spot for bike tag was being in a venue and just acting like you were supposed to be there. So we're there, we're looking at video games, DVDs, whatever, and lo and behold, you know, we hear the little bell ring of the door opening, and immediately one of our friends, we're gonna call him Frank. This guy loved this kid to this day. One of my good childhood friends. He was very unhinged, Frank. Frank was extremely unhinged. Being it turned, when he held that pool noodle, he became a warrior of war. And so when he ran into or opened the door to the pawn shop, my friend and I, we look around, and he instantly starts yelling like a banshee. He's going off. and he's chasing us. He tries to hit us with the pool noodle, and he ends up like launching some like pawn shop merchandise across the store. Immediately, the guy is the worker there. Instantly, he's like, "Hey, get back here!" And I'm a little bit of a wuss, right? So I instantly skirt off. But talking to my friends a little bit before this story, he made him clean up the mess, and I believe he tagged out the other friend that I was hiding out with. But I had kind of skirted. I kind of left my friend there. I was like, I'm not getting out, not on my birthday, not in bike tag. You know, this was life to me. This game meant a lot, right? So I end up scurrying off, and I don't really know the repercussions, but I believe from what Kate had told me that. Yeah, they ended up having to clean it up, and they got a good stern yelling.
Yeah.
You know?
And having the strategy of going into the pawn shop or going into a hotel or going into the bowling alley or the gas station, you leave yourself at risk for leaving your bike outside, yeah. Which is very visible to the person who's trying to get you. So, one, it's risky, and two, when they do find you, it's kind of a gauntlet once they meet eye contact with you when they get in the store. Dude, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, we were definitely like a walking liability to any like building we walked into, but it also like made it more fun because instead of like biking constantly like on the run, it was always nice to like get into a building and kind of like cool off, you know. But anyway, yeah, that's one point of view. My brother, he's a big animal guy, and so in bike tag he would always bike into the woods, and so there's this nice trail by my house that was like a Mississippi river walk. It was about a mile in circumference, and my brother would take, you know, one or two of my friends, and he'd take them like to the deep wooded areas, and he'd like make them lay their bike down in the grass, in the tall like grass, and they'd lay down like in bug infested, deer infested, coyote infested woods areas, and they would just stay silent. Like my brother like took this really serious too. So a lot of the times when you were biking around, you're like, dang, I haven't seen people in an hour. And these games would go from whenever we started until like sunset. Like literally, these were long games. It wasn't like, oh, we play tag for 30 minutes and then we're going to the next thing. No, bike tag was probably 3 hours long. I don't know what you think, but for me, in my memory, I remember them lasting very long.
Yes, we'd go until the day was done, and at the end of the day, we'd have to meet back at the house, right? And make sure everyone was still there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell some quick stories before that, but one story was I remember we being on opposite sides of like this like playground area, and one kid, Frank, I think it was Frank was trying to cut us off, and I remember he was switching gears pretty fast because if you don't have a bike, you may not know this, but the gears matter. If it's a high gear, like if it's 3 on the left, 7 on the right, it means it's going to be very hard to pedal, which is very good if you're racing on like a road or a trail. But if you're on grass or anything very tough to bike on, you know, you're going to want to turn that thing down to lower so you can bike faster. So I remember seeing Frank catching me and a bunch of other friends in this area, and him being like, oh, I'm going to cut him off. So he's dipping down this hill trying to cut us off, and I think he twisted gears too fast, and his chain fell off, and he just face plants with the noodle, because that was another part of the strategy. Was it was very hard to like drive the bike and tag people with the noodle. I mean, it was intense jousting. And a noodle, if you're biking fast, the noodle's like bending back, so you need to like slap it like it's like you're a cowboy. And I remember seeing him like flip over with the noodle, it being extremely funny. But anyway, I ended up getting the call from my mom, and it was like, hey, we're gonna do birthday cake, whatever. It was my birthday, right? So we're gonna, you know, have some cake, have some food, whatever. So I text in the group chat, you know, game's over, let's head back. We get all back to my house, we're having cake, birthday. And my mom's like, all right, we're gonna make a name up for this guy. We're gonna call him Zach. So my mom's like, where is Zach? And I'm like, oh shoot, you know, I think when you get so tied up into talking with friends and getting back, and you know, it's your birthday, maybe your mind's not all the way there on like, oh, who's all there? But Zach was missing. So my mom was like, okay, we need to figure out where Zach is. And I sort of actually knew where Zach was. This is getting to where the birthday party took a very steep decline in the downwards position. And so there was this kid in our neighborhood, and he had made a name for himself. He had gotten into some some issues with drugs, with stealing stuff, beating up kids in the neighborhood. We had a cop in our neighborhood, and he would always get with his other gang of friends to TP his house, throw eggs at his house, etc. So he was known as like the delinquent kid, and so we all knew him. And I think there was like this, when you have a kid like that, they're almost seen as cool, right? So I think Zach really thought this kid was cool, and so I was sort of in his area. We were neighbors, and I was by his house, and he was chilling outside, probably smoking a cigarette at the ripe age of 14, And Zach is chilling with him, and I didn't really like to hang out with him too much, just because he was always up to no good, getting in trouble with cops. I remember he was going to court as a 14-year-old, and that's just not something that you need to be doing at 14. But anyway, as soon as my mom's like, Zach's gone, I had already had it in my mind that, oh my gosh, I didn't even make a name for this delinquent kid. We're gonna call him Matthew, all right? We're gonna call this delinquent kid Matthew. So I knew he was at Matthew. So I think it was either my mom was searching for him in her car, because she's worried, right? She's the parent in charge of the party. She needs to know where the kids are. And I think me and a couple friends were like, okay, we're gonna go get, what did I call him? We're gonna go get Zach, all right? We're gonna go get Zach. And so we go and bike up to Matthew's house, and I'm pretty scared. I know this guy has weapons. I know his brother has like guns, right? And I'm 14. Like, I'm still scared of guns. I'm scared of knives. I'm scared of drugs. I'm scared of like people doing bad stuff, and I never wanted to be around that, especially at 14. So I think we ended up trying to contact Zach, and him not answering. So I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to knock on Matthew's door, and I didn't want to knock on his door. We ended up knocking on his door, and he had an older brother, and his older brother came out, and he's just wielding a switchblade. And for anyone who doesn't know, switchblades are very illegal, especially in Minnesota. And he's like, oh, you guys are friends of Matthew's. Like, oh, do you want to see my knives? And I'm sitting there like, I don't want to be here at all. We need to get Zach. Where's Zach? And he's showing us knives. And I remember one of my friends is like pointing at his car, because he was going to go in his car. And right on the dashboard, he had a gun. He had a handgun. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this guy's walking out with knives. He's showing us knives. He's probably seen me in the neighborhood before, but he has a gun. Like, I don't want to be around this at all. And I think we're like, hey man, can you just go get Matthew and Zach? Could you please go in there? And I think he goes in there, and I think Zach comes out. We're like, dude, why are you checking your phone? Like, we need to get back to my house. My mom's freaking out. And the trouble kid Matthew comes out, and he's like, oh yeah, man, we were just doing whatever. I don't even remember what they were doing, but definitely it was something that Zach had no business being over at Matthew's house. All right. And I think one of my friends really didn't like that delinquent kid, and I believe he was swearing at him, like yelling at him, like, dude, what's up with that? What are you doing with my friend? And Matthew's older brother, I remember he's standing up for his brother. I remember he was getting a little hostile with us. And I remember thinking, what's going to happen? And I remember his older brother going into his car, getting up in the passenger side where that gun was on the dash. And I remember looking at, my friends, I'm like, yo, we need to leave. We need to leave now. We need to leave. We need to bike away. So I remember being like so scared that something bad was going to happen. And we ended up biking away. But yeah, that was bike tag. All right. And so we get back to the, our party. We're having birthday cake, whatever. And it's getting dark. And we had another childhood game that we had came up with. And I don't even think it had a name. It didn't even have real rules like bike tag did. But this game was, oh my gosh. I just got cut off by this truck right here. Holy crap. Bro. Oh my gosh.
Big enough load there, buddy?
Yeah, oh Lord. But I don't know. Kate's going to have to help me with words here. But basically the game was we have to shut off all the lights. We're down in the basement. We're shutting all the blinds so it's as pitch black as possible. I promise you wouldn't be able to see anything. And I had one of those Star Wars plastic lightsabers. You'll probably know what I'm talking about, but they were heavy duty. It was pretty long, really heavy. I remember when we would do like battles with it. If you got hit in the hand, it hurt like a mother. It hurt bad. And as a kid, as a 14-year-old, anything that involves a little bit of like danger or like that'll raise your adrenaline is like instantly the funnest thing ever. So this game incorporated darkness. Someone has a flashlight, or not the flashlight, the lightsaber, excuse me, and everyone's in sleeping bags or blankets, and whoever has the lightsaber, bro, I can't even get this out. Whoever,
the suspense of not knowing if you're gonna get welted by a lightsaber.
Yeah, so what it was whoever had the lightsaber literally got to go beast mode and just hit everyone. I think they were blindfolded as well. Or maybe not, I don't even remember, but they got to just beat up on all of us with the lightsaber, and we would take turns. And it was life or death. I mean, some of these kids, like I'm a smaller guy, right? I had friends who were, nearly 6 feet tall, probably when we were 14, and I was a lot shorter, not as strong as them. So I remember it being like extremely scary when one of my bigger friends, stronger friends, had the lightsaber and he's swinging it around, smacking people. We're all just yelling. I know my mom was upstairs being like, what is going downstairs? And during the point, I remember the strongest kid out of our friend group had the lightsaber. And I had one friend, we're gonna call him Maurice. We're gonna call my friend Maurice. And Maurice, I think he was getting fed up. I think he was getting hit a lot. I mean, we were coming out of these battles with bruises. I don't want to speak for Cade here, but I was getting bruised up all my body, my back, my arms. We were getting hit in the head. I remember one kid had a welt on his head, or a bump. And this kid Maurice was like, I'm done, I need to defend myself, this isn't working out. So he ran into my bathroom and grabbed sprayed bleach. And when he got close, he just, with the spray bleach, he just sprayed down on whoever had the lightsaber. And it got all over him, it ruined his clothes, it got on my couch, my mom's couch. And I remember whoever had the lightsaber freaked out because he's getting sprayed with liquids. This has never happened before. And I guess the yelling had reached a decibel level where my mom had to come down and check, what's going on, right? She's like, what's going on? She turns the lights on. She sees one 14-year-old like drenched in cleaning supplies bleach, and there's bleach stains on a couch. So it was not good. My mom was not happy. But she was also such a great mom that she was able to, probably tone down her anger so that the vibes were still there, right? We were still having fun. So it got to the point in the night where it's probably 1, 2 p.m. We're all pretty tired, but another fantastic thing that kids like to do, I said this in one of my other story times, one of the best things to do at a get-together or sleepover is sneaking out. That's like the token last thing you have to do at a sleepover party is sneaking out. But specifically, what do you do at parties when you sneak out? You ding dong ditch, right? So I think I said this in my other story time, but I guess my friend group, we had sort of had a little take on ding dong ditching, right? So we called our version of ding dong ditching garage banging, okay? And so what garage banging is, and it's going to sound really degenerate, and it really is. It's really not good. I don't condone this at all. Anything that I'm stating right here, I don't condone at all. Maybe bike tag was very fun, not in businesses. But anyway, garage banging isn't just one person goes, ring the doorbell, knocks on the door, and then you run and hide and wait for the owner. No, you get all your friends, you line up on the garage, and you bang on it. So if you thought the doorbell's loud at 2 in the morning and there's no sounds in any, home, imagine you're sleeping and you have 16 fists banging on a garage. And if for anyone who doesn't know, if you hit a garage, if you have a knock on a garage, due to the garage being hollow, it echoes. So imagine 16 14-year-olds or 16 hands banging on a garage, just having a loud, like you probably thought someone's breaking in. Like I can't imagine someone doing that to me as a homeowner and not completely freaking out. But yeah, we'd bang on the garage and we'd sprint away. So that was like our adrenaline. And when we would garage bang, it would echo throughout the neighborhood, especially in cul-de-sacs, because there would be a house here, a house here. If you're banging on, you're making noise, it's echoing and then bouncing off the adjacent house. So that was just one of the insane things that we did at my birthday party. But I think we ended up sneaking back in. Nothing ended up going wrong that specific day with garage banging or whatever. But yeah, definitely losing a kid during the birthday party was pretty intense, and yeah, it definitely went wrong. And looking back on it, I don't think it really went wrong, but I probably didn't detail enough how like dire the situation was, or how my mom was, you know, concerned that we had lost someone who was invited. But yeah, we ended up getting back to our room, or not our room, but my house, you know, all safe. And you know, there's other degeneracy, you know, happening during you know, sleepovers and stuff like that. But yeah, that's my story. That's how I almost got shot at my 14th birthday party. That's how a childhood game, excuse me, went wrong. If you guys could relate to that, please let me know what you think. I'm probably not going to have any time to edit this. You know, I'm getting back at 10, and you know, I hope I didn't say a lot. But yeah, if you guys relate to this, have any stories of you know, going out and doing different stuff with your friends at 14, let me know. If you guys had any made up neighborhood games like bike tag, or doing any degenerate stuff like garage banging, I'd love to hear it. Comment down below. But yeah, 612 unscripted. Thank you.